5 seconds to go. Start. Honorable Chairperson Sir, I would like to tell you a story from a book, namely Anti-Gravity Handbook. In fact, this story had not come to our notice. In 1985, this book was published. In the said book, there is a wonderful story as to what really happened. In 1965, while Chinese were in occupation of Tibet and Lhasa, they got some Sanskrit manuscripts, and those Sanskrit manuscripts were sent to Dr. Ruth Raina, an American professor and a Sanskrit scholar and Indologist. At that time, she was on sabbatical at the University of Punjab in Ludhiana. Those manuscripts were sent to her for translation. That professor translated those manuscripts. The translation was sent to the Indian Institute of Science Bangalore and to the Chinese as well. Our Indian Institute of Science Bangalore said that manuscript was not of much use and it could not be used. It is not part of the book that we claim, that is Young Servers. But after a few years, in the year 1975, the Chinese spoke at a press conference that that manuscript was very important and that they were going to use it for building interstellar spaceships. Years later, one professor A.V. Krishnamurthy from the same Indian Institute of Science Bangalore said that they believed that some of our texts, especially Vedas and Sanskrit texts, have the references of our spacecraft, aeronautics, and all these things. I would like to ask the Honorable Minister whether we can have a study on this in order to defend our country and to protect our citizens. Can we study these Sanskrit texts so as to find out some defensive mechanisms? Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir, for giving me an opportunity to speak on the weapons of mass destruction and their delivery systems, Prohibition of Unlawful Activities Amendment Bill 2022. Sir, of course, this is a good move. The scope of this bill is very limited. This is a modification of the Parent Act to the effect of including funding also within the ambit of the Parent Act. Sir, India's stand was very clear always, now and then. India should stand for protecting the national interests, common goodness, and peace of the entire world. Coming to this particular topic, we have always advocated for total disarmament. Our desire and ambition was to become a model to the entire world. We have done our level best in this direction. India took the initiative for the International Convention to prohibit the use of nuclear weapon. Sir, in 1988, at the special session of the United Nations General Assembly on disarmament at New York, the then Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi ji put forward a comprehensive action plan based on this subject. Sir, the original bill in 2005 was moved by the then External Affairs Minister Shri Natwar Singh. Our stand was very clear. Nuclear power can be used for security of the nation, development of the nation, but at the same time, we were deadly against the misuse of it, whether it is chemical weapon, biological or toxic weapon. That was our clear stand. Sir, we should be proud of our leaders. Our country should be really grateful to our former leaders. They always took a bold step. We have to appreciate them for their far-sightedness. Rajiv Gandhi ji's ministry has shown far-sightedness, commitment for peaceful coexistence and world peace. Sir, my tributes to such great leaders on this occasion. It may be noted that India has also an institutionalized mechanism to prevent unlawful access to such weapons and their delivery system. Use of nuclear energy is a useful thing, and at the same time, we have to handle the misuse of it, and we must treat it with high handedness. Many learned friends were speaking about the consequences. If nuclear power is used in a negative manner, we cannot imagine the havoc it is going to make. It will lead to destruction of life and organisms. Sir, there are many international conventions such as Chemical Convention, Biological Convention, Toxic Convention, and we are all committed to go according to that. There are many things. I do not want to say much. UN Security Council Resolution 1540 requires all states to adopt measures to criminalize assistance to non state actors or to acquire weapons of mass destruction and to put in place domestic control to prevent it. Sir, we were taking such an initiative in the past also. I would like to say one more thing. Misuse of legislation also is a problem. Last time also, when we were discussing about that, we were warning about that. This legislation is very good and everybody will support it. I have no doubt about it. Sir, I am concluding my quoting the then External Affairs Minister. I would once again reiterate that India is committed to safeguard its security as a nuclear weapon state and to deepen its autonomous scientific and technical capability for meeting our security imperatives as well as our developmental goals. Finally, he said, we are committed to ensure that these do not fall into the wrong hands, especially the terrorists and non state actors. India has an impeccable record in this regard, and India will continue to work to prevent proliferation of weapons of mass destruction. Sir, I would like to conclude by saying that this is a legislation which has to be passed unanimously. Let us hope for the best. Let us pass the legislation unanimously. With these few words, I conclude. Honorable Chairperson, sir, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to take part in the discussion on the very important bill, namely the weapons of mass destruction and their delivery system, prohibition of unlawful activities, Amendment Bill of 2022. Sir, the original Act of 2005 has to be amended. Section 12A has to be incorporated by means of which the financing of all these activities, financing also is becoming an unlawful activity in respect of weapons of mass destruction can be stopped. I fully support this amendment bill subject to certain specific clarifications from the Honorable Minister. Sir, it is well accepted that the weapons of mass destruction are always a threat to international peace and security. Nuclear weapons, chemical weapons, biological weapons have already been described as weapons of mass destruction by the Resolution 1540 of 2004 of the United Nations Security Council. Stop.